Well, this is a replacement program specifically targeting public safety vehicles. It's basically in the same vein as the last project I just talked about, where we actually, I have a fleet management division also, where we actually have a replacement program for replacing our fleet vehicles and some heavy equipment that's in that program also. And it's for the same reason, you know, as you all have cars, as your cars get older, the maintenance costs start going up, the reliability starts going down. Of course, you know, we want to keep our equipment reliable so people can get their jobs done, whether it's public safety or public works. We have over 700 vehicles and pieces of equipment in the program. Public safety represents 270 cars, 15 fire apparatus, which is ladders and engines and tankers. The average age of the police cars, it says, is 7 years old. But when you look at, there's 270 of them. 7 years is in the middle. We have police cars that are 2005, one or two older than that, but 2005 is pretty much the oldest ones out there on the road. So that's a 14-year-old car. The other, and fire apparatus, very expensive. Now the average age is 21 years old. We do use a longer life cycle for fire engines, but just to give you a reference point. So the fleet replacement program is designed to maximize our investment and avoid excessive repair costs, and also ensure that we have a reliable fleet so the work can get done when it needs to get done. You know, people aren't waiting for equipment to be repaired. When we look at the fleet replacement program, just like in the facilities life cycle program, we don't just replace it because it met some target. We also look at the history of the vehicle. You know, is it becoming a maintenance burden? Is it becoming obsolete for the service that it needs to be done? And with public safety, we're also looking at, you know, newer vehicles have newer safety features, new design features that are important to public safety folks. So we use a target to forecast when we think we're going to need to replace it. And just like in facilities, we work around that target. Sometimes some go a little earlier, sometimes some a little later. Prior to FY18, that target was mileage based. And it ended up leading us into having an older fleet. And particularly with the public service vehicles, or public safety vehicles, you know, we have 2005 Tauruses out there on the road, basically. You know, and they don't have the same equipment, the same safety features that today's Ford Interceptors that we've been buying do. It's important to the police. You heard the police chief talk about wanting to get more vehicles and how that's important for police recruitment. This applies to the sheriff's office too, for recruitment and then officer morale and all those good things to help them get their job done. So in FY18, we revisited how the program works, just prior to FY18. And we decided that a better approach was actually to target a specific age, particularly for the public safety vehicles, so that we don't get obsolete equipment. And equipment, including vehicles, they age also with time, whether you're driving or not. It's also appearance and functionality. So we changed in FY18 to a age-based targets. That causes a little glitch in the historical data when I get to that. So now our program is that we replace cars, sedans in the public safety fleet on an 8-year cycle is our target. Cars and sedans that are not public safety, we're more targeting 15 years. So we're not trying to replace everything at 8. When we look at that target age and we look at this fleet of 270 cars in public safety, 103 of them are past the 8-year mark. Excuse me, fire engines, they've been a bigger challenge. They're very expensive. We were figuring about $500,000 each. That price is going up. They're closer to $650,000 right now. The average age is 17, but we have 3 that are due in FY20, just based upon the age requirements. And it's been an issue for the fire department. They're actually getting a new engine and a new ladder truck this year. Hopefully they'll be here soon. They keep a couple reserve, 2 or 3 reserve engines, which are not included in this. These are vehicles that basically cycled out and replaced. They keep them in reserve so that when they do have an engine down, they have another one to bring in so that continue to provide the fire service and coverage. Those vehicles are, I didn't write it down here, much older. They go back to, I believe it's 2000? No, it's further back than that. No, I didn't write it down. They're 1993. I think they go back to 1993. So they can't get parts for some of them. And recently they've been getting to the point where, you know, with the current engines, they've been putting the reserve engines into service because the current engine's out for repairs, and then another one goes down, and they at times have been using all the reserve engines. So it's more, and over the years, we'll see in a moment, in the budget, we haven't been replacing fire engines on the cycle we should have been. So we're trying to get caught up with that. The ladder truck, we have another one due in 2021. There's one being delivered this year, as I mentioned. This is a history of the funding of the fleet replacement program. It's an internal service fund, so budgeting's a little different. I know someone asked what was, you know, our annual requests. This one we handle a little differently. We don't really go by annual requests. We look at how much money is available to use and look at what we're projecting we need, and we sort of balance it out, and it just, here's how much is available, and we build the replacement program around it for that year. That is what led us to get behind in previous years. You can see in the public safety fleet, we've had some years where the expenditures have not been that high, all the way up through FY17. These are actual audited numbers. 18 and 19 are really budgeted numbers, and 20 is a projection. And so you can also see that the public safety fleet, yeah, it pretty much represents less in expenditures, less than half of what we expend from the entire fleet. But it's going up in the last couple of years because we're looking at the fire engines. So again, it's basically the same goals. You know, provide a stable funding source, relieve pressure on the general fund, and shift these costs from property taxes to sales taxes. Same philosophical thoughts and comments. You know, everybody who comes to Athens benefits from public safety. That's sort of why we focused on public safety in this particular project. The funding, what I was proposing was a $2 million per year funding, which again, when we add program management and project management, this one's on a 9-year period because we went back and forth between 9 and 10, and I didn't get them sequenced. It was 18.7 million. So that annual budget is based upon the age targets for public safety vehicles, and also looking at those overdue vehicles and throwing in over the life. It was about 7 million. We wouldn't replace everything all at once, of course. So that's how I came up with the $2 million a year. It is a scalable project, but what's not funded here goes back to the general fund, and then we're subject to how much general fund money is available to keep this program solvent. So that's it. Questions? Yes, sir.
And I may be remembering this incorrectly, but I thought during the proposal that the police gave us, they told us that their vehicle replacement plan was funded and that they could replace the vehicles they needed to in their current fleet. That's
this program they're talking about.
So you're telling us it's not funded?
No, it is. Right now, it's funded out of the general fund capital.
Okay.
It's just not funded as fast as we would like it to be. It's going to take a long time to get caught up in those 103 vehicles that are behind. This will help us also get caught up.
And the reason is so, I guess you're trying to replace 103, but another part is you want to replace fire trucks too.
Yes, and that would be spread out over the life of the program. It's not, we wouldn't do it all up front. And it's like, I think the police chief also mentioned, you know, in the future, starting next year, FY20, we expect most of the police cars and sheriff's cars that we buy will be hybrids. I mean, up until now, recently, we've been buying Ford Interceptors, And Ford this is 2019 is the last year Ford's manufacturing that car. Ford's switching to hybrids.
So,
And one of their models, the hybrid's gonna be cheaper than a gasoline engine.
so in reality, it sounds like the police department wants 130.
Well, that's police and sheriff's department together. And there may be one or two fire vehicles in there also. They're not specifically asking, yes, they would like all modern fleet. I'm saying that 103 is what's over our target right now. Now, they're all operating, they all work, and they have required various levels of maintenance. So we keep them running, but the older they are, the more time they spend at fleet management. Down here on Newton Bridge Road, where Drew pointed it out with stormwater.
I have one question about, it almost relates more to program management, project management, and I noticed you dropped the percentage of project management is down to 1%, and the program's 3, I think they're normally 7, is that right?
Sounds right.
So in this case, they total $750,000, which is like 21 cars, and I guess I'm just confused about that, meaning, I understand that, so I'm not confused about that, but, I guess this project is much different than any of Drew's projects,
Yes.
which are construction, design intensive, but for purchasing vehicles, I guess, how,
Well, when the SPLOST office reviewed these projects, Keith and I did have that conversation, and that's why the percentage for project management in particular is lower. The practice for program management has been just to spread it evenly based upon dollars across all the projects. That's something, that detail will get tweaked and worked out as the final list is put together and goes to the mayor and commission, and if this all passes, they put together true budgets. So they did try to reduce it as much as they felt they could at this point.
question? Thank you, Dave.
I was looking for, thank you, everyone, appreciate you listening.